Good evening and welcome to the Dave Ray Show. I'm your host, Dave Ray, here with Ben Luna, who is the general manager of WLX. How are you, Ben?
I'm wonderful, Mr. Dave. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain, and I've been told if I do complain, it doesn't do any good.
No, he's true. Yes.
Yeah. So before we get started, I have two $25 Stetters gift cards that I'm going to give away this next show. So to enter, you have to like, share, and tag a friend. And we will reveal the two winners next week. So first question. I know last night at the Chamber annual meeting, you received, WLX received the Small Business Hall of Fame Award. So what does that mean to you?
Well, it was received by the Wright family and the radio station. WLX was admitted to the Small Business Hall of Fame for Lawrence County, and that is for businesses who've, number one, been long serving in the community,
Yes.
businesses who have gone above and beyond the call of duty, and so it's the station joined a very exclusive group of people or of organizations last night, and it was. To the Wright family, Roger and Charlotte and Kevin, and the late Janet Wright, Roger's late wife, who passed away in 2017, because they built this. Roger and Janet signed on in 1981 and set the precedent for everything that was to come. And the station has never operated better. We're blessed with what we have, and we've entered into this digital revolution now of video, and there's a lot more to come in the near future. But it was an honor to be the presenter of it. I was asked by Ryan in the chamber if I wanted to present the award, and I said yes. And then I said, "What's involved in that?" And
Right.
oh, by the way, you have to make a speech. And I'm like, "Oh,
Yes.
yay!" So people think that we, really good at public speaking. Typically, when we do stuff, there's only like 2 or 3 people around, if that. Just like this is seen by many, many, many people.
Right.
But when this is put together, there's 2 or 3 people in the room.
Exactly. Well, I love to hear that. The chamber does an excellent job. And I really enjoyed the meeting last night. It was great.
Couldn't have been better. It was beautiful.
Keystone is beautiful. If you've never been to Keystone, you really need to go to Keystone. It is a beautiful place. So, what is your favorite thing about your job as general manager of WLX?
Telling you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why to do it.
There you go.
So next question. No, kidding.
Simple as it comes.
I love to. I love working with the people that I have the privilege of working with, from you all the way up to Charlotte, Roger, and Kevin. It's a family.
Yes.
There are many, many aspects that I adore, but really it's making a difference. Mm-hmm. It's making a difference in the community and the lives of people.
That's a great answer. So why did you get into the weather field? We're going to shift over to the weather side of things. Why did you really get into that field?
I got into weather because it scared me as a kid.
Really?
And this is the truth. This is the truth. As a kid, I was terrified of storms, terrified of them. It was, thunder once or twice and boom, I would, run inside. And one night, Lawrenceburg was under a threat from a possible tornado. And this is going back into the early 90s. And I thought at that time, if I learned about these things, if I learned about, the science behind storms, maybe I wouldn't be as nervous. Mm-hmm. And maybe I could do that a little bit better. And and so I turned that fear into something positive. And that, in itself was a slippery slope in a way, and started a career and then whatever, that has led to now.
Yes.
So
that's interesting because you're saying you're scared past and now whenever there's a tornado warning or there's a flash flood warning, a notification pops up on my phone, Ben Luna's going live. And then I tune in and you're in your truck driving down the highway looking for the tornadoes or looking for the flash floods. That's really interesting to hear.
That's something that I do cautiously,
right? Yes,
from time to time. Typically, I'm in the weather center now, but it is taking the fear of something, and you can do something with that energy. It's your choice what you do with it. You can either use it to cower, or use it to learn about why you're afraid of it, and hopefully not be fearful of it when you finish learning about it.
That's great. So, tell us an embarrassing moment in your career, because I know you've been at a TV channel, correct?
Mm-hmm.
TV station. You've been in radio. Now you're in weather, like as on a digital aspect. So,
Yeah.
tell us an embarrassing moment in your career.
I show up at work about 8:30 or 9 o'clock every day, and well, that's it starts from there. So no, when I was at Channel 31, this is actually 10 years ago this year. I wore glasses at the time, and I was on the air, and there you had to wear makeup, and
Good thing we don't have to wear it on this
yeah,
show.
well,
That would.
not yet. He
Oh.
he don't know it yet, but
Oh
it's coming.
no. Oh.
So no, and it was so warm in that studio that night. Um, here and in the weather center, these are all LEDs. The lighting, yeah, it's bright, but it's not just uber hot.
Right.
Not like that. And so I was kind of sweaty, and then the makeup made me just extra oily, and the glasses started falling down and gradually got to the very end of my nose. Well, that's when I took my finger, and forgetting that you're on camera, because again, I'd been doing radio for, a long time at the time. I turned and I went, whoop, like that, on camera in the middle of my weather segment. And everybody in the studio, everybody in the control room, through my earpiece, hit the button, nerd. I mean, and I'm like,
Oh my.
and it caught me still holding my glasses like this. Uh-oh. And put that finger down and kept on with the weather. And so that was moderately embarrassing. So,
Were you on live TV?
absolutely. Yes.
Oh man, that made it even
So,
better, I'm sure. So, what does a regular day in Ben Luna's life look like on a normal day that is not necessarily compromised by weather?
I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning.
Oh man.
I look over weather. I will make sure that all the operations are underway properly for the radio station and now the TV operations. And I can do that from home. And then I usually will wind up maybe snoozing for a few minutes, and then at 6:30 it's up and boom, here we go. And that means coming in. I love to again work with clients, the sales aspect, our team of people at the radio station, and now in the digital TV parts. And then it's just going through the day of interacting with folks, and ultimately, typically in the latter part of the day is where I do get to play more in the weather center and do some stuff and prep for the next day. And in that is doing some recordings and making sure that the next morning show is prepared for when I can come in and report and get it on.
That's great. And Ben put me in the sports control room one night, and I was not familiar with the software. It was very interesting. And the one night that I participated, and I said I can handle this, the computer crashes twice. Mm-hmm. And so Ben was the person that I called, and all of a sudden he took over the computer from wherever he was at. I guess you were at home, and it was back up in no time. And so you work at all times of the day, in my opinion.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's used to back in the old days it was sunrise to sunset. Now it's eye open to eye close, and that's the way. But you if you truly love what you do for a living, you never work a day in your life.
It's true.
So, and that's the truth.
It is. I can agree with that. So I asked Fred a similar question to this. What is the most horrific storm that you can remember since you began your career in weather?
Oh, that's a good question. Instantly, my mind goes back to April 27th, 2011. That morning began with a tornado in Lawrence County. I was on the ground. After covering it on the radio, I went with Red Cross, and Jenny Benson and I, with the help of the now late Jack Grinnell, worked with some folks who had been impacted by that storm, even though that was not among the most powerful storms by far that day. But later in the day, there was the F5 that came up through North Alabama and eventually got into our coverage area, which is about the Tennessee River, or it was at the time, and started to affect Limestone County. And that was the most impactful in terms of overall scope, damage, and kind of one of those moments you'll never forget. But for me, the one storm that was a game changer, complete game changer to me, was February 5th, 2020. And we had the EF1 that touched down, I believe, memory serves correctly, 3 times during its trek through the county. Let me have that one for a minute, and that's okay because
Yes.
we'll,
Things
you know,
happen.
we're gonna go back and talk. Um, but no, as I was saying, the most impactful storm was on February 5th, 2020. The EF1 touched down within a line of storms in Lawrenceburg and came right through the middle of town. The library was damaged. Quick Mart was damaged. Homes were damaged. Luckily, I believe only one or two suffered catastrophic damage, and that was because a tree fell through them. But nevertheless, you had some injuries, and that storm occurred in the lowest possible level of the atmosphere where that stuff can happen within the last 1 mile. Okay, so what happened? The NEXRAD radar beams, the government radars, overshot us being able to see that rotation. And that was the day that I said, okay, our area, not just Lawrenceburg, not just Lawrence County, our area, something's got to change. And I understand government red tape. You know, there's a lot of good people that work in government on the, side of the National Weather Service. Their hands are tied. I understand that. Congress, that's going to take truly an act of Congress to happen.
Congress, right.
Okay, and that was building another radar. That's the only solution that you can do. And so I said, shoot, what are you going to do about it? We'll do it ourselves. And within 2 weeks, we had started forming a 501c3. I had bid proposals from 4 radar companies. And a couple of weeks after that, we signed the contract. And now the thing is operational and has actually contributed to 3 or 4 tornado warnings, and probably almost now 24 severe thunderstorm warnings. And so, that was the game changer. That was the defining moment. And in the middle of all that, Tennessee Valley Weather was born. And that was actually something that came along. That was a separate conversation that was happening. And then after that day, okay, radar, let's get that done. And then in that process, boom, Tennessee Valley Weather just appeared. And then the rest is, history so far.
That's impressive. So, where do you see the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel in 5 years?
That's a really good question. Again, I never want the Weather Channel to grow beyond what we intended it for it to be and do. And that is exactly what it's doing now. That is providing daily, not just daily forecasts, but severe weather information and just a go-to place. If you want to know what the weather is in this region, from the Murray-Williamson County line to the southern end of Franklin County, Alabama, to Interstate 65 and Hardin County to the Interstate 65 corridor, that's the area that we cover. That's our home base. And because we felt that those communities like Lawrence County, needed the same thing. I want there to be more content. The content part is not done. We've got some other really neat things that have been planned from day one that we're just now able to implement, because we had to get to a point financially where we could afford the equipment to do it with. And so we've gotten to that point, and you're going to see some really nice improvements. I don't want to call them changes, but you'll see some really, really nice improvements, very soon with the Weather Channel. And a few more content pieces. Fred's got his the Weather Classroom. I'm going to be doing something within the same vein. I've got a couple other folks who are interested in, again, doing some similar educational, here's the latest in the world of kind of weather and science and stuff, where we, actually utilize this space where we're doing this interview and doing some stuff with uh, remote guests. We've got the ability now to pipe in, maybe a nationally renowned meteorologist and, interview them, as a little feature. And so you're going to see some stuff like that. And then, who knows the long-term plan. Actually, we had a lunch meeting earlier this week where we discussed the long term. And, you know, again, and it would have to be something separate. The Weather Channel went national. Who knows? Who knows what can happen? So, but I do guarantee Tennessee Valley Weather and what we do here will never, by design, by intention, go beyond what it is designed for, and that is to serve this community and her neighboring communities and give you only the very, very, very best possible weather coverage. And it's what we say up front on stormy days and sunny days alike, because we still want you to watch even on sunny days, because that helps us a lot.
Exactly. And so, what is one thing that you would say to a person interested in the weather field?
Again, good. I would need to talk to the person that hired you. You have really good questions to ask.
You can talk to Charlotte.
So, thank you. Thank you. So we just had an opening for an interview show here at the station. No, I would say if you dream it, no matter who you are, where you are in life, this is the most important part too, what you look like. Okay? And between me, Drew, and Fred, it's kind of like we're Larry, Curly, and Moe. I was raised, you never, ever, ever, and this is the most basic lesson, judge a book by its cover, and that applies to human beings. I don't want to demeanor, the new modern look of what television says, because Tennessee Valley Weather is actually now a legit TV operation. It's not just a digital thing. We're carried on cable, so I mean that's
very impressive.
That's kind of the upper echelon, I guess, of some stuff in a way. But it's you've got two husky bald guys doing the weather. And then Drew, who you see some on the weekends, which, we're not necessarily meeting the defined conforming to what the industry is doing. That's a professional way of saying it. And I think if you're watching this, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So don't let everyone else tell you that you can't succeed in doing what you want to do because of this, this, and this. If it comes down to it, chart your own path, be a trailblazer, and reach for the stars, because one day you'll grab one. And that's the honest goodness truth, because I loved what I did in Huntsville. I still worked here full time. That was a part-time thing that I had going there. And then the last night that I worked, and they had, we had gotten into the need of having some folks who were closer for, sickness. And, there were a couple folks that, a couple of the ladies I worked with were pregnant, and, I needed to be there. They needed me to be there within a moment's notice. And of course, living here, that was not feasible. And then the last night that I worked, there were 9 deer that jumped in front of me between Huntsville and home. Wow. And, personally, I said, look, I can't do this. And so I for that reason, that's at the end of the 3-year period, I had gotten out. And then that was the time where all the radio stations came together as well. So, where one door closed, kind of, another one opened. That door didn't close because it stayed cracked, because I still had the opportunity to interact in television. And then lo and behold, that door became a garage door, essentially, in 2020, when Tennessee Valley Weather was born. And then, and of you who've watched the Dave Ray show, and like in the case of the microphone instance during this thing, I'm still ironing out some of the stuff in this room. I don't want to say this, in an unprofessional sense, but Dave's guinea pig for this new studio. You should have saw the train wreck that the Weather Center was during their first, month of operation there, of getting stuff done. But we have a lot of stuff planned for this space to continue in the realm of digital broadcasting, digital video broadcasting, because combining with radio, the digital video part is the future. So.
Great answer. I honestly couldn't have thought of a better answer myself. Last question. This is a very good question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Probably sitting back here to be on the Dave Ray show again saying, you remember when you asked me 5 years ago what I was going to be doing? Well, guess what? Here we are. It's, I know, again, kind of going back to where, things stand with the digital operations and the radio stations. I just hope and pray that going forward in the next 5 years with God as our guide, I will be able to serve his purpose and serve his people to the best of my ability. And wherever that leads us, that's up to him. And that's what I go on in my faith daily. And, I can't wait to see what tomorrow holds. I know what tomorrow will hold because I have a honey-do list to do this weekend. And that's going to mean me going to a lumber company and getting supplies to build shelves. And so, so I don't know if I'll make it past this weekend or not. 5 years from now, you might say, you remember 5 years ago, Ben Luna? Yeah. No. Because me and Power Tools have a love-hate relationship. We love to hate each other. So, but no, I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what happens. And, again, the sky's the limit. Reach for the stars and, just make sure you have a good glove on when you grab one because they can be real hot. So.
Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us this week on the Dave Ray Show. Don't forget about our giveaway. We're going to give them away next Friday night. So make sure you like, tag a friend, and share this video. You can tune in next week on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.